Every town has its secret. Some are buried under old oak trees. Some are whispered in the town square. Ours was different. It was a simple, silent one, hidden in the dead of night, woven into the very fabric of our lives. Here in Willow Creek, every single night, at precisely 3:33 a.m., every clock in town would stop. It didn't matter if it was the brand new digital alarm clock by your bed, the old grandfather clocked in the hallway, or the massive clock tower that stood sentinel over the town square. For exactly 1 minute, they all fell silent. The second hand on your watch would just pause, as if it was taking a deep breath before continuing its journey. For 60 seconds, time itself held still in our little corner of the world. We called it the still minute. We were so used to it, we never really questioned it. It was just a fact of life, like the morning fog that rolled in from the river or the taste of the first apples in the fall. Parents would tell their children it was the town's way of resting, of catching its breath after a long day. And it felt like that. Life was peaceful, predictable, and wrapped in this strange, comforting ritual. Nothing ever went wrong during the still minute, because nothing ever happened. Everyone was asleep. It was the unwritten rule. But then, Leo Miller moved to town, and last Tuesday, he forgot the rule. Leo was a freelance graphic designer, escaping the city chaos for what he hoped would be a quiet, productive life. He was a night owl by trade, fueled by endless cups of coffee and the glow of his monitor. Deadlines don't care what town you're in. That night, or rather, that early morning, he was deep in a project. He glanced at the clock. 3:32 a.m. He let out a groan. He was out of milk, and the thought of another cup of black coffee was just unbearable. He decided to make a quick run to the 24-hour gas station on the edge of town. It was just a short walk. What could go wrong? He grabbed his keys, threw on a hoodie, and stepped out into the warm, still air. The streets of Willow Creek were completely empty, bathed in the soft orange glow of the street lamp. As he walked, a strange prickle danced across his skin. The world grew quieter, then quiet. It was a deep, profound silence, the kind that feels like it's pressing in on you, as if someone had hit the mute button on the entire universe. He instinctively pulled out his phone to check the time. 3:33. And then he noticed something else. No service. He shook it, frustrated, thinking it was just a glitch. He had a deadline to meet, milk to buy. He kept walking. That's when he realized he was the only thing moving in a world of statues. A stray cat on a fence was frozen mid-stride. A moth was suspended in the air, its wings perfectly still. The world was a photograph, and he was the only one walking through it. And that's when he saw her, standing at the end of Maple Street, right under a flickering street lamp, was a little girl. She was wearing a bright yellow raincoat, which was odd, because it hadn't rained in weeks. She was completely absorbed in drawing something on the pavement with a piece of blue chalk. Leo, more startled than scared, called out, "Hey, are you okay? It's really late for you to be out here. Are you lost?" The little girl looked up, and her eyes. They were not the eyes of a child. They were ancient, deep pools of starlight, holding galaxies within them. She smiled, but not with her mouth. The smile came from those eyes, a warm, knowing expression that sent a shiver down Leo's spine. "You're moving," she said. Her voice wasn't a child's voice, either. It sounded like the rustling of ancient leaves, like a secret whispered on the wind. No one ever moves during the still minute. Leo's blood ran cold. He felt a fear he'd never known. The ... The what? He stammered. The minute we borrow, she explained, her tone as casual as if she were talking about the weather. She pointed her piece of chalk towards the clock tower in the distance. Its hands were frozen. It's for them. She then gestured with her small hand to the world around them, and for the first time, Leo truly saw. They were everywhere. Faint, shimmering outlines of people on front porches, in gardens, walking through the ethereal mist that now seemed to fill the streets. Ghosts. But they weren't scary, not like in the movies. They weren't menacing or lost. They were peaceful. They were simply ... being. He saw a man in old-fashioned clothes, tending to a rose bush that Leo knew had withered and died years ago. He saw a young couple, transparent as glass, waltzing silently on a porch that had long since rotted away. He saw children, their laughter a silent echo, chasing a dog that was little more than a shimmering wisp of light. They were reliving their happiest memories. The still minute wasn't for the town to rest. It was a gift, a single, precious minute, borrowed from the living and given back to the dead, so they would never, ever be forgotten. It was a moment of grace, a bridge between worlds. The little girl went back to her drawing on the pavement. You should be inside, she said, her focus now on the chalk. The minute is almost up. Leo didn't need to be told twice. He stumbled backward, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He turned and ran, not looking back, the silence chasing him all the way to his front door. He fell through it, gasping for breath, just as the wall clock in his living room gave a loud, definitive tick. The second hand jerked back to life. It was 3:34 a.m. The world was moving again. The silence was gone, replaced by the familiar, gentle hum of the night. The next morning, driven by a curiosity that outweighed his fear, Leo walked back to Maple Street. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and the town was its usual, cheerful self. And there, on the pavement, right under the street lamp, was a child's drawing in blue chalk. It was a simple, smiling stick figure of a man standing next to a little girl in a yellow raincoat. And right where the man's hand should have been, the chalk was smudged, as if someone had just reached out and touched it. Leo Miller never stayed out past 3:32 a.m. again. But sometimes, late at night, he'll look out his window at the frozen clock tower, and he'll smile, knowing that for one silent, borrowed minute, his quiet little town is more alive, more full of love and memory than it ever is in the bright light of day. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into Willow Creek. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe share it with someone who loves a good mystery. We'll see you in the next one. Stay curious.